Hey friends, it's me, Pastor Doug, with another word of encouragement for the day for today, Wednesday, June 22nd. Just a reminder, this will be the last week of these videos before we break for the summer. If you've been with us for the past few weeks, you know that we've been exploring Jesus' famous Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5, 6, and 7 that contains some of Jesus' most powerful and provocative teachings, including some teaching on hypocrisy. And so what I want to do is I want to look back at 2 Samuel chapter 12. We're going to read verses 1 through 7. We're going to look back at a moment where the prophet Nathan confronts King David for his hypocrisy. See, in the previous chapter, we read about King David's adulterous affair with Bathsheba and his murderous attempt to cover up that adulterous affair by actually sending Bathsheba's husband Uriah into the battle unprotected in order that he would be killed. It was sort of an indirect way for him to have Uriah put to death, but in a way that didn't look like he was actually doing what he was actually doing. And Nathan, the prophet, calls David out for this kind of behavior. Listen to what he says. He actually uses this striking allegory to point out David's guilt. He says this: the Lord sent Nathan to David. When he came to David, he said, and he just begins to tell this story. So here this story is an allegory that Nathan was telling David. There were two men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb that he had bought. He had raised it, it grew up with him and his children, it shared his food, it drank from his cup, and even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now, a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. Instead, he took that one little ewe lamb that belonged to the poor man and prepared it for the one who came to him. So this kind of is the end of the allegory that Nathan told to David. Now listen to David's response. David burned with anger against the man, and he said to Nathan, "As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this must die. He must pay for that lamb 4 times over because he did such a wicked thing and had no pity." Let me just pause there for a moment. Okay, so you see sort of the trap that Nathan is laying for David, right? He tells David this story. David thinks it's a real story, that there's really some guy in his kingdom that took advantage of some poor man and stole his lamb to feed to the traveler. And David's so upset about this injustice that he actually decrees a punishment. He says, that guy, whoever that guy is, go find him and make sure that he pays restitution for what he did. And then listen to what Nathan says. After this story, after David responds to the story, Nathan turns to David and says, "You are the man." In other words, you're the man in this story, David. And here's the thing that I want to point out. Friends, we are so quick to pass judgment on the people around us, right? If someone drives too fast past us on the freeway, they're an idiot. If they're driving too slow in front of us, they're an idiot. Why? What do we mean? Well, we mean we drive the right speed, and everyone who's driving faster than us is driving too fast. Everyone who's driving slower than us is driving too slow. And friends, that's just an example of how we live our lives. It seems like we're so quick to pass judgment on everyone else when actually we're guilty for some of the same things that we're passing judgment on others for, right? We're so quick to point out the faults in others. And just like what Jesus pointed out in this passage that we studied on the weekend in Matthew chapter 7, we're so quick to find a little speck of sawdust in somebody else's eye that we're not even aware of these giant planks in our own eye, which is exactly what David did. He was so consumed with this fictitious man that stole a lamb that he was ignoring the fact that he had stolen a man's wife and killed the man as a cover-up. Friends, may you and I be aware of those moments when we are passing judgment on others, when we ought to be looking in the mirror and allowing God to do a work in us before we have any business pointing a finger towards anyone else. Friends, I hope this challenges and encourages you today. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.